Let's see if she likes Pro Evo. I may never have to go out again. So they all try it on. They all say, go on, go, give it a go. Go on, give it a go. And you're intrigued to see whether that works, aren't you? Well, the answer is... not at all. Never does. But what I want you to look at with this is Pro Evo, the age of those players, 20 to 30. Now, if I show you FIFA, those are the people who are logging lots and lots of hours on Pro Evo. If I show you FIFA, you'll see the age is much younger. So those men who try it on with their girlfriends and the perfect relationship doesn't emerge, let's just assume gently over time, as we saw, if I just go back to Pro Evo for a second, sort of much after 30, Pro Evo dies off a lot. What's going to happen to them? Well, in 5 years' time, they'll stop playing Pro Evo, and there's no one younger coming through. Whereas with FIFA, there's loads of younger people coming through. Sorry, Konami, but I said it. Gears of War, similar pattern, lots of male trial, lots of incredibly young play on Gears of War. Halo, and I know Jerry Johnson, who's here tomorrow talking about Xbox Live, is going to talk about Halo. Again, we've got lots of young play. In this case, much stronger, 15 to 19. But a lot of 10 to 14-year-olds playing that game. Guitar Hero, big title. Where's Dave Noble? There's Dave Noble. Dave released that in Europe. So lots and lots of play. Who ended up walking around with a vast piece of plastic in their hands, miming vigorously in front of a mirror? Boys. Lots of boys were doing that. Whereas if we look at SingStar, it's girls. Similar pattern to trial, more girls trying it, but the ones who end up playing it are the females. Sonic, lots and lots of trial. Doesn't seem to be played much in the ages between 20 to 24, except by women. I have no idea why that is. I'd love to hear your theory. If we compare that to Mario Brothers, Mario sustains play pretty much through, with some considerably older play, but trial rates right through the line. Assassin's Creed, 18 rated game. Grand Theft Auto, 18 rated game. So there you have it. Lots of people trying it, but the play rates are currently quite large below the rating. Sims, okay. Some guys try it. Doesn't tend to be what they end up playing for some reason. Sims, you know. Don't know why girls like it. You have a perfect house where everyone does the washing up exactly when you tell them. And it seems to work for younger women. Championship Manager. Do you remember we noticed the perfect relationship question? You know, darling, surely you've wanted to manage a football team, darling. Everybody's wanted to manage a football team, darling. Doesn't last long. What's interesting about Championship Manager is just how many I had no idea till we looked at these figures, just how many old people still play Championship Manager. In fact, loads, more than anybody else. Okay, and then Professor Layton, my game, my favourite game, the one I really like. Entirely female profile, other than me, so that can form your own theories about that. That is pretty much all I wanted to say. We enjoy a variety of games. The relationship works over time. The emotions triggered can be very potent. Games can be art just as much as anything. Any form of entertainment can be art once it becomes good. My little, researchy thing is, one of the reasons we know it's important is not just how many people are playing it, but because how long people play these games for and how many hours they commit to them. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give you a little picture of how we try and understand the games in people's lives, and I want to reassure you about how important they are. That's me done. Thank you very much. Mr. Lovell, sir. Or Nicholas, as I've now learned to call you.
Nicholas from Games Brief. You talked at the beginning about games not being services, and then you presented a set of data, which is about not units sold, but about hours spent, which is an extremely useful service metric. an essentially useless product metric. So if you created this data, which is very useful for services, but you don't believe they're really services, and I strongly believe they are services and think your data is fantastic, how are you handling that dichotomy in your own head?
We're going to bore people by doing definitions, I think. But I mean, a service for me is something that can be replaced pretty quickly by anything else. It doesn't matter. I can get my tyres changed at Quick Fit. I can go somewhere else and get them tired. They offer me a service. It doesn't really matter who does it. A product is an instance of something good that I like. Now, the fact that I have hours of use data for products, I mean, no one has ever paid for, or it's very unlikely many people have paid for an individual television program, but there are television programs I really like. But I would consider them products rather than services. So I think we're arguing about a definition rather than anything else. The fact that the data is obviously going to be useful to those who seek to choose to advertise in games or to, in any sense, monetize them according to their use and how much they are used rather than the initial cost of buying them. That I'm aware of, but I would use this to firm up the belief that they're products, they're valued, and people who go to them for that reason.
Well, I'll certainly counter your definition tomorrow, but I think the most interesting stuff about that data is allowing people to think of revenue ways of making money from usage as opposed to simply people who magpies. It's a much better way of monetizing the loyalists.
Well, you're going to talk about this tomorrow, Nick, and we're all going to see it. So that might be the moment. Any other questions? James? Do you want Rupert to... They just like watching you run, mate. Shout, mate. I'll repeat it in case anyone can't hear.
With your definition of service, though, I think you're doing down Christian's definition of service from last year. You're suggesting the service is quite disposable, but I think that what the notion of service is more about something you have a continuing relationship with. And I'd say the Call of Duty game, which most skew your numbers, out of every game there is the one you have the most continuing relationship with because of the communication nature of the game, how you celebrate your perks, how you celebrate achievements, how it will change your profile. Of every one of those games, I'd say that Call of Duty has the richest continuing relationship with consumers, which is why it's more of a service.
Yeah, we're going to struggle with this definition thing, I think. That's the problem there. I mean, I just basically think the games I like are irreplaceable, and I'm glad they are what they are and not the one next to them. And I think a lot of consumers think of that, of games. They have particular fond relationships with particular games. The service idea is that you put a channel full of games, and if they sort of finish that one, they'll go on to the next one, finish that one, go on to the next one. And doesn't feel like a strong enough connection to me. But you seem to be rebutting me by saying you've got this fabulous relationship and because they've worked so hard on building a strong connection into that. So
software as a service, if you're selling Oracle into a big IT company, you are selling a continuing relationship. It's not disposable. You have a built-out relationship with it. I just don't agree with the definition.
Okay, so you're saying it's a customer service relationship as well as the initial product that makes your relationship so good. Okay.
World of Warcraft is...
I'm saying without the game in the first place, what's the point of the customer service relationship? You know, that's I think what I'm trying to say. We'll talk about it later, James, and we'll continue to disagree, so we'll often do. Simon?
I have the mic. I have the power of the mic, so I'm going to...
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Do you think that interfaces like Kinect are going to change this sort of regimented male-female split that you see in your research?
Well, I think the figures around David's consoles, around the Wii and the DS, are much more balanced in terms of male-female split. And if the effect of Kinect, and looking at the software that they were showing at E3, they seem to be sort of very keen to encourage as wide an audience as possible. Then yeah, I mean that would seem to be what they're trying to do. Only really boys, and kind of really detail-minded boys, like controllers with 16 buttons on, doing all that. Nobody else likes that. And so, you know, the sort of dextral competence and proficiency required to do that is just for boys of a particular detail-y mindset. So if Kinect successfully breaks down the barriers in the way that a touchscreen on a DS or the Wii controller did, then it would seem to take it that way. But it's got to have the software to back it up, and you know, we hope it will have. I'm going to say something nice about Ubisoft, which is I think it was called Your Shape for the Kinect in E3, and that looked like an excellent rendition of how to use what it was offering. Are we with you now, Michael? Or Simon, indeed.
Me. In your list of games there with the usage stats, pretty much every device that those games were played on were internet-connected devices, which would suggest that there's a much more technical solution to getting the data than just asking people how long you've played for.
There should be, and the problem is it's quite hard to get consoles and people to release that data because it's quite business critical to them, and they tend to sit in it, so they don't. Ours isn't the best way of doing it. I mean, it really isn't. It's reported data, but I thought it'd be interesting to show you, and I'm damn sure it's pretty good. It's just not. That would be a good way of doing it. The problem is, and some nice people at Sony ages ago were kind enough to share with me the distribution of ownership for the PSP, and 1/3 of the owners of a PSP were exactly 18 years old, according to the little thing they filled out when they did it. And the reason is, as soon as they put 18 in, they got access to everything that was over 18, whereas if they were under 18, they didn't get that. So they filled that out, that went in, that allowed them the stuff they wanted, and Sony had this slightly bent out of shape chart of age of ownership. That's the problem with those direct line routes, is people tend to fib a bit, especially if they get a benefit for so doing. Any other questions? Mr. Livingstone, sir.
So 1 year on, is the golden age of blockbuster titles over?
No, I just don't believe so. I changed my mind completely from last year when I was debating vigorously against Ray, sitting giggling behind you as usual. I think there will be tentpole games, big games, just like Call of Duty is at the moment. There'll be big games like that for a while going forward. What there used to be was a sort of underbelly of single A titles, and I think those are having a much rougher time in current conditions. But the big ones that are well prepared and then well marketed will continue to thrive. What we have now, though, is a much longer tail and chain that includes games like Diddle Jump and all sorts. Sir. The question is, just I'll repeat it if you don't mind, just because, just in case no one's heard it, is do the big titles sort of create a black hole in the marketing space around them? Is that a fair summary of what you asked? I actually think a good title is good for everyone, and I'm a terrible Democrat anyway, but I mean, I think a good title is good for everyone. If everyone sees something that's really good and lifts up the players' impressions of what games can do, that is good for everyone. The fact is, while you've got limited distribution channels like retail and so on, exactly what you're describing has always been the case. Going forwards with digital distribution, and Chris Anderson, who was sitting there but isn't now, there he is going to talk about this. There's no clogging anymore, so you know, you can do those things. The problem is everyone wants to play that one game. You know, those 74 million hours I showed you for Call of Duty, they came from hours when those gamers could have been playing other games if they wanted to. So. But I don't think that's really a problem. I think if they're having a great experience, like Mr. Binns clearly has a deep and personal, throbbing relationship with that title, that's good for everyone. That's just the way I think.
We cut this off now because we're running a little late, and we can have some more discussions with John at